There are still places in this world that no one should ever step into. Places filled with darkness. Not just the absence of light, but something more. Something that watches in silence, waiting for its victims. I never believed in legends. I was a man of science, a lover of adventure, but there are moments that change a person forever. This is my story. A story of a journey I should never have taken. I received a mysterious email from an unknown sender claiming that an undiscovered cave lay hidden in a remote area. The description was tempting. The pictures of the cave's entrance revealed massive stalactites and eerie, looming shadows. Despite the strange feeling creeping over me, I couldn't resist. I gathered my equipment and contacted my team, persuading them that this expedition would be the adventure of a lifetime. When I told my friend George about it, concern flickered across his face, but he didn't object. As for Layla, she was excited but somewhat hesitant. We agreed to set out early in the morning, unaware that our decision would change our lives forever. When we arrived at the site, we all felt uneasy. The place was abandoned, and the air carried a strange scent, something resembling mold and blood. The rocks surrounding the entrance were covered in ancient carvings that we couldn't decipher. I stood at the cave's mouth, hesitating for a moment, but my curiosity won over my fear. As we stepped inside, a thick mist began to form, as if the cave itself was swallowing us. At first, it seemed like an ordinary cave, but the deeper we ventured, the heavier the atmosphere became. The walls were damp, and the pathways twisted unnaturally. The moment we entered, the sunlight vanished behind us, and we found ourselves trapped in utter darkness. Every step we took echoed eerily through the cave, as if whispers from the depths were calling to us. Suddenly, we heard a scream coming from within. It sounded like someone was drowning. We ran toward the sound, but the closer we got, the more it faded, only to reappear somewhere else, as if the cave was toying with us. I started to feel that something in this place was not right. It wasn't just an ordinary echo. There were strange undertones woven into the sound, like a haunting funeral hymn. George, walking beside me, muttered, "This isn't natural. We need to leave." But leaving was no longer an option, because the path behind us had disappeared. We searched for an exit, but the cave seemed to shift around us. We no longer knew where we had come from. Then, suddenly, Layla vanished. We heard a brief scream, then complete silence. When we ran toward the sound, we found only her backpack. George looked at me, his eyes filled with terror. "This place, it's taking us one by one." As we searched for Layla, the voices grew louder. They were no longer mere whispers but distorted laughter. Then, out of nowhere, we saw a shadow move swiftly. I ran, shouting Layla's name, but there was no answer. We realized this cave was not just a geological formation. It was something older than time itself. We found a wall covered in ancient carvings depicting mysterious rituals and people entering the cave, never to return. There was someone else inside the cave, or rather, something that resembled a human but was not. When we saw it, we froze in place. It stared at us with hollow eyes. We ran as fast as we could, but the shadows were faster. George tripped and fell. I turned to him, but something dragged him into the darkness. I found myself alone, trapped in the void. All the sounds stopped, except for my pounding heartbeat. After hours, I found an exit, or so I thought. When I stepped outside, the world was different. Everything seemed off, as if I had never truly escaped. Then, the nightmares began. I would wake up at night to find footprints inside my room. The whispers never left me. I realized I hadn't left the cave behind. It had become a part of me. Strange markings started appearing on my skin. I could no longer endure it. I had to go back and find the truth. When I reached the entrance, it was waiting for me. As I regained consciousness, I was still lying outside the cave. The air was unnaturally cold, and my body trembled. Not just from the cold, but from something deeper, something the cave had planted inside me. As I stood up, I noticed my hands were shaking uncontrollably. I tried to calm myself, but a strange sensation overwhelmed me, as if an unseen presence was watching me, even in broad daylight. I looked around. There was no one there, but I felt it, that presence that had followed me out of the cave. I returned home, trying to forget everything. but the nightmares persisted. Every night, I found myself back inside the cave, hearing the whispers, seeing the distorted faces. Each morning, mysterious symbols appeared on my skin, marks I had never seen before, etched into me like old scars. It was no longer just a memory, it had become a curse. That's when I realized I had never truly left the cave. I had carried it with me. I spent days trying to rid myself of this feeling, but nothing worked. The voices, the shadows, the whispers, they followed me everywhere. Even my reflection in the mirror no longer looked like me. I saw something else staring back, something watching me from within. In the end, I had no choice but to return to the cave. I needed answers. Or maybe I was searching for something else, an end. If you were in my place, would you have returned to the cave?